Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Fridays with the Ranger. I'm Ranger Bailey sitting in my kitchen today and I'm feeling a little bit crafty, so we will be working with some paint. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the lesser known plants of the Lewis and Clark expedition, which is the Serviceberry Tree. And on several occasions, Lewis and Clark had mentioned this plant in their journals when they were making their way through the western parts of the newly acquired land of the Louisiana Purchase. Meriwether Lewis even described the plant as, or with, an abundance of red, yellow, purple, and black currants, and service berries now ripe and in great perfection. I find these fruits very pleasant. And he wrote this in the summer of 1805 when the expedition was making their way through present-day Montana. Lewis and Clark were able to describe the plant in such great detail that we can easily imagine what it was like back then compared to today. Now, what's great about the serviceberry tree is that all of the berries are edible, which neither Lewis or Clark would have known that without the help of local tribes giving them the thumbs up that it was okay to eat them. Lewis and Clark, along with the rest of their expedition, was often invited by local indigenous tribes to make peace and trade with their the supplies that they had, so they would often help each other out in this manner. Once again, in the summer of 1805, Lewis had wrote about how the Shoshone had gifted the expedition with different types of berries, as they had played significant roles in the tribe's diet. The Shoshone gifted them with different types of dried service berries and chokeberries in the form of cakes, which Lewis had talked about how hearty of a meal they were, and after that they were on their way. But not only is the serviceberry great for its taste, it's also used for medicinal purposes and ceremonies for indigenous tribes, meaning that this native plant served many purposes way before Europeans had even encountered it. So going over some scientific facts about the serviceberry tree is that it's formally known as the Saskatoon, but serviceberry or western serviceberry fits perfectly fine. So the Saskatoon is known for being a smaller tree. It's also known for being like a shrub, so it doesn't grow very large, but in the spring it blooms these beautiful white flowers, and then eventually in the summer does it grow the red and purple berries, which makes perfect sense for the Lewis and Clark expedition since they were able to feast on the berries in the summer mainly. And then after that, when fall comes around the corner, the leaves turn into a bright fiery red, thus making the tree perfect for all seasons. Now, with all of that being said, I think it's about time to start on our craft for today. So continuing with our tree theme, I thought it would be fun to use paint and make hand trees. So this might get a little messy, so I definitely recommend some adult supervision since we will be using paint. And if it helps, I will be using gloves to protect my hands, so feel free to follow that step, but if you want to get messy, then go for it. Okay, so I got my gloves on and I think I'm ready to get started. So what you'll need is some paint. I decided to go with the serviceberry tree theme when the berries are just starting to turn ripe. So I chose red as well as green and then brown for the bark of the tree. But I don't have any brown, so I will be mixing some colors. And then next you'll need a paper plate to keep all of the paint on, and then some paper towels to wipe those hands clean. And then for the paper, I decided to go with white so I could draw on the background, but feel free to go with whatever color you would like. This is your drawing, your creation, so go for whatever you think would look perfect. Okay, so I think I'm ready to get started here. So I have my white paper in front of me, and I also put down a couple of paper towels underneath just to keep it a little bit more clean. And so as I said before also, I don't have any brown paint, so if you don't have a certain color, you can always mix different colors together to make what you would like. So as I said, I don't have any brown paint, so what I did is I mixed all of the primary colors together. So red, blue, and yellow. So mixing all of those together, you get brown. And it's okay that it's a little smudged and kind of all over the place because you're going to be dipping your whole hand in there, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Okay, so what you're going to do is going to take your paper, and I don't have any paint on my hands right now, but I'll show you how to do it real quick. So you're going to dip your hand into the paint and make sure all of your fingers are totally covered with paint. And then you're going to take your paper and put it right in the middle. You can space out your fingers or do whatever you like. Once again, this is your creation, so go crazy and do whatever you want. So now I'm going to go for it. It's now or never. So let's dip our hand into the paint here, and it's a little squishy, but it's okay. So we have the paint and just pat it straight down onto the paper, and don't smush it or smudge it or anything like that, so you don't want to make it a little messy. So I have my hand on there, and I'm going to let it stick just for a couple of seconds, just so it gets all of the paint on the paper, and then I'm just going to stick it straight up, just making sure it doesn't smudge. And if it smudges, that's totally okay. So let's see here. Alright, so I still have a little bit of paint on my hand, but look at that! Amazing! So let's start with our next step. So now I let my tree dry. Here it is. And I also forgot to mention that if you wanted to do like the stem of the tree, what I did is that I took the leftover paint I had on one finger, and then I just pressed it on there just to make the bark. And so also, if you want to speed up the process of it drying, I would recommend also using a hair dryer just to make that process quicker. So now what we're going to do is the leaves part. And so since it's dried, it's not totally completely dry, but that's okay. You can do whatever you want, let it dry some more, or just go for it now. And so what I have on my plate now is some green paint. And what I'm going to do to make the leaves is I'm just going to dip one of my fingers in. So like that, and then I'm just gonna put it wherever I want, so oops, just like that. And so I'm gonna do that for the rest of the tree, and I will come back when I finish that part, okay? Okay, so now I finished the leaves of my tree. I decided to keep it a little bare just so you could still see my hand in it. And now that you kind of got the hang of it, you feel free to go crazy with it. Since this is your artwork, this is your world, feel free to do whatever you want to make it fancier. And so I think I'll do the same. And since I will still be going with the Serviceberry theme, I thought I could put the berries on it. So now I have my red paint here, and I'm just going to dip my knuckle in it just to make it the small berries. So I will do that now, and I will be back in a second. Okay, so once I finished with the berries, I decided to add a little bit more to my art. So I went with a sun and some grass to the background. So this is what my final product looked like. Now anybody's can look different. It's your artwork, so with that, anything goes. So I hope you enjoyed that. So that's about all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit more about the Serviceberries and their importance to the Lewis and Clark expedition, but also to indigenous tribes of North America. But I really do hope you enjoyed doing this craft with me. Stay tuned for another Fridays with the Ranger, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.